Hello there, you guys, and welcome back to our very last song from the Old Masters for Young Players series we've been doing. The link for you on Patreon is in your YouTube description, along with some notes of mine attached for you. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you're just watching this a little bit later. And thank you so much for being here. Your link to this etude is also in the YouTube description for you. I would love to see you on Patreon, though. If you enjoy this series, pop over and check out what's going on Patreon. It's a lovely little community of music and classes and guest artist classes, and I would love to see you there. So today we're going to take a look at a song by, or not a song, but a piece. A song has words, whereas this one doesn't have words, so it's a piece. A piece by Robert Schumann, and it's called... it's in German, and I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Erinnerung, I think. Erinnerung, which means memory. So it's a really sweet little piece. Remember that this is supposed to be played with piano, so you got to hear the whole thing with piano at some point. Go make a pianist friend, like I always tell you. Today we're going to look at the first half, which is basically the first repeat. So the first 3 lines. And then next time we'll take a look at the second half. So from the second repeat to the end. All right. Let me play it for you, and then we're going to go through detail by detail, so make sure you have your music handy and grab a pencil and a metronome if you want, and we'll give it a try. So here we go. Memory. Moment is it kind of tricky. There we go. So we'll take a look at that together. But let's pop in some things. So if you're on Patreon, some of these things are already attached for you in my notes. But if you're not watching that on Patreon, let's go through it together. We've got a B flat in the key signature. So let's make sure you know that there's B flat there. It's also piano. So that's why I'm playing in this upper part of the bow. It's a gentle part of the bow to play in. And I'm also trying to play closer to the fingerboard. So to mark that, I've just wrote FB for fingerboard and UH for upper half. So that's where we kind of want to hang out in the bow. In the second measure, there's a little 4th finger here, and we really need to prepare the 4th finger. So while you're on the 1st finger, 4th finger comes out, so that you just have to put it down with a little swing of your elbow. What you don't want is to have the 4th finger all the way back here when you're on your 1st finger. And then at the last minute, So get your 4th finger out while you're playing on that 1st finger. 4th finger's out. The second line, the last measure of the second line, we've got this little finger crossover, which you see a lot in Bach. It's just all over the place in Bach's music. You see it a lot in music in general, but it's very prevalent in Bach's cello suites and all other things Bachish. So we've got 2nd finger on the note C, and then 3rd finger is going to cross for this F sharp here. Instead of doing 2nd finger and then 2nd finger, just keep your 2nd finger there and cross 3rd finger really tightly right across. But then we have to get the 4th finger. So you kind of have to do this little slide. Can you see how my 3rd finger is sliding up so that I can get to the 4th finger there? And then my 2nd finger is reaching back while I'm on the 4th finger. Alright, so that's one tricky little place. The next place that's kind of tricky that's very similar to that is in the 3rd line, that 2nd measure with all the notes in there. So let's forget about the grace notes. Those are the really tiny notes in that measure. Let's forget about the grace notes there for a minute, and let me play it for you. So there's that same little crossover, but then we're going to really quickly replace it with second finger, and then fourth finger. So if you can work on that first, then we can add the crazy number of grace notes that happen in just an eighth note's time. So the grace notes look like this. Here's the note, and then we go to these grace notes. There's an E sharp there, so if this is E, the only other place that first finger can go is a half step behind the second finger. So it's either a whole step away for first finger for E, or it's right squished right behind your second finger for that E sharp, also known as an F natural. So that's the fingering, but the next thing that's tricky about this particular measure is trying to figure out how it fits with those two big beats. So let's put a great big 1 and even a line going through the very first note of that measure. Right on the C, put a 1 right there. And then on the fourth finger, this is where beat 2 is. You can put a 2 over that really big, and then a little line right through that A there. That way you know how things line up. So if I start the previous measure, let me put my metronome on. This is at 72, which is kind of a nice andante speed. Let me slow it down just a little bit though. I'm going to put it down to 50 so we can kind of hear. 1, 2, 1 and 2 and. I'll play it a few times. So here we go. Maybe one more time. You see how it's very, very notey. So. So with that, let's play through the whole first half again. I'm going to put the metronome up to 72, and we'll just hear what it sounds like a little bit faster. All right, so here we go. 1, 2. So maybe you can take a little time at the end there with all the notes just to kind of really place everything so it doesn't sound rushed. After all, andante is kind of a calm tempo. So with that, you guys, I hope you enjoy this one. Let's take a look at this little section this week in your practice, and I hope you enjoyed our class today. I'll see you next time where we look at the second half. Lots of love.